Under the Democrats looking for leadership, a Texas Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett is accusing her party of playing it safe. Listen to this.
There's a lot of people that are like, you know what? Like, let's go find the safest white boy we can find. I mean, I'm just saying.
Those are the callers that we're hearing. We're hearing people.
No, for real.
A white man's got to do it. We're getting those callers.
For real. And to be clear, when we talk about them, I can tell you that there is one specific candidate. I had a donor on the phones with me telling me that all the donors are lining up behind that candidate. So I can tell, and I can tell you it's not a black person nor woman, okay?
Our political panel is here. For more on this, Emily Austin is a journalist and activist, and Yemisi Egbawale is the chief of staff to the White House press office under Joe Biden. So, Yemisi, start us off here. Is it talk like that helpful? I mean, if you look at the last three Democratic presidential candidates, last four presidential candidates, you had a black man, you had a woman, you had a white man, and you had a mixed race woman. I mean, why is she talking like that?
Well, the thing that I really enjoy about the Democratic Party is that we're allowed to have ideological divides. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett represents and speaks to a younger and some would say more passionate part of the Democratic Party, and some of that passion rubs people the wrong way. I know it rubs James Carville the wrong ways oftentimes. However, I think that passion comes from a sense of urgency and less from a sense of malice. And of course, the American people get to decide who runs in 2028, who even runs when it comes to the midterms in 2026. And I think that's the great thing about America.
But this seems to be something that we're hearing from the progressive side of things, because some comments that Ilhan Omar made back in, I believe it was 2018, have now come back. This is what she said.
I would say our country should be more fearful of white men across our country, because they are actually causing most of the deaths within this country.
Why are they talking like this?
I just believe they're having such an identity crisis that they don't know who they are anymore. They're just scrambling on something to grab onto. Fortunately, they've realized a bit too late that Joe Biden is no longer the party of the Democrats, and now they're looking for that new head. But the problem is these newer voices are not, in fact, newer solutions. They're the same people with the same rhetoric, just louder and angrier versions of it. And this isn't someone that the Democrats can put up that's supposed to represent America. I mean, they're completely deterring. They're alienating all the moderates, and they keep repeating the same rhetoric that failed under Kamala, failed under Joe Biden, and it seems that they don't learn the lesson.
When those comments resurfaced, this is what Ro Khanna said about it, Democrat from California.
I think that white Americans have done enormous things for our freedom. I mean, who were the people who scaled the cliffs of Normandy? Many of them were white men. And it's not just I disagree politically. I disagree substantively. This is a great country. It is a kind country. It is a decent country.
So what is the purpose, Yemisi, of alienating a huge part of the Democratic Party?
Right. The focus should be right now for the Democrats in growing a broad coalition of voters. I think voters want to see courage. They want to see somebody speaking out, but they also want an undercurrent of unity. And that's the way that the Democratic Party is going to rebuild and also grow and continue.
All right. Last thought to you.
Listen, I believe that the best way to bring this unity is, first of all, to stop painting all white people as the problem of everything. But in general, stop playing the enemy versus the victim, the oppressor versus the oppressed, and the identity politics need to come to an end. We can't deny that there's issues, racism, and people are not colorblind. But we can't also pretend orange man bad, white man bad, because that's not your way to victory. Policy is your way to success, not blame game.
Ladies, good to see you. Yemisi, welcome to the program. We'll see you back here a lot.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.